they elevate them for create these kind of clandestine network within their party for disabled and young people so that they will propel themselves ahead of the political stage. It's the same way they are using Mother Biona as a shield for further deepen this process, this coup d'etat. You call them a national anti-democratic coup, and it has no respect for party. Many of these people are APC, SLPP, joined together. They don't even care about party lines we've come to identify. And the Anti-Corruption Commission is one of their weapons that they've used, especially in leading up to 2012, 2018, and now increasingly to going to 2023. So I will take a break here. Then I will begin break these issues one by one. So we will not just be talking like this, but examine the examples. And I will start by also bringing by way of update the where the court is, where the court matter is, because I understand now they're coming to New York. I will read I'll get the court documents, and I outside the judge, the illegally appointed Adrian Fisher has ruled that the court case on Samura Kamara for Kana, New York, now that they've come up from Freetown, we own taxpayer money, pay for themselves, and work at Kana, New York. They say they can't extend the trial up to New York. The trial is now taking a year. It has not concluded. Number two, they are now spending more money per diem and tickets from your money back for saying they can't look at the building in New York. They can't look at the site in New York. The judge, the lawyer, the accused person, they don't talk to Freetown for 1 whole year. They transfer now can New York again for can continue the case in New York. Maybe they say one go claim na the building, they can't go claim na the building upside na the roof, Fisher and all the one. So I understand all the accused persons, including Samura Kamara, Nalo, and other people, all they can. But don't forget, before the ACC charged the matter in court, the ACC claimed that it had investigated. If you don't come to New York, they go China, go other places, they investigate. That's what the ACC been telling me. So the ACC now, after their investigation, they've charged the court, the judge, the prosecution, the people that were accused now, they're all back, they sit on a plane, then they travel. In fact, from the court document, they say they come off Freetown, they go Dakar, Senegal, from Senegal, then come America. So they will be in America, I think, from next week. I don't know if it's Monday or so, but I can't read the document them. So when I go, you're done a way of update. So when I will not be no say the Samura Kamara case, they can New York, but I know now from me. I don't see any of the court papers now, so I understand saying they can New York, except they change their mind now. But that is what is on floor. They will be bringing the trial to New York. It very much, you ask yourself whether it's useful or what is the essence of that, whether useful or useless. What we are saying is that the Anti-Corruption Commission is wasting our money, wasting our public money as far as the chance rebuilding case is concerned. One, they've ignored the material evidence relating to the case. They have not charged the people who stole over nearly $5 million given to the Saloon government by China. We don't report this. They're not charged. In fact, they made those people witnesses against people who don't work at the past government. In this case, one minister, the only prominent person who has served in cabinet in that trial is the former foreign minister, Samura Kamara. The question is, how about the other ministers, deputy ministers to him? If really you want to hold people in the past government, at the time when Samura Kamara now being foreign minister, there were two deputy ministers. Where are they? Why were they not charged? If really you seriously say the crime, because I don't see APC people and they argue. Some of them send me video insist 6 of the APC 6 people will send me video, they insist for watcher because somebody has said this crime begin under an escroma in time, and that then believes $2 million was stolen by Samura Kamara. APC people, and then send me that, and they try for force. I tell them, I don't look at that video. I know what TV report and the evidence what we see. If we not get any evidence of video, well, I go reporter. You have your platforms. I haven't stopped anyone from publishing any evidence they have. But you cannot make accusations and expect me to say that me go report and provide the evidence. I talk about what I see, the evidence in front of me. If you got evidence, reporter. So they say the evidence talk say Samura say he don't thief 2 million. So what has that got to do with me? No, I report about what I have seen. What it means seeing that the Chinese government gives Saloon government money in 2018. The first transfer of that money happened the first week of March 2018. That money remained in the account until Ali Kabal and take over, withdraw. The other money come in 2018. That is the over 4.6 million, nearly 5 million. Then they give mother bill there. Then transfer that money in New York, they not do nothing with them. Now, assuming say them we don't do say money don't lost for the embassy ever since the problem on the day. Why then transfer money in 2019 for make the embassy not use the money? The anti-corruption not touch that case. The APC people the way want me for look at the whatever video they don't go make together with NGC for say me for look at. I tell them, when I go look at it, don't include me in your flag bearer fight. I'm talking about the publication that we publish, we investigated, and we investigate. What we investigate? Not what in that you hear that they talk about, what in in front of me, the evidence in front of me. So what I know is that the case in Freetown has nothing to do. They don't mention the $5 million what we publish. What they are mentioning is something totally different. The people that will tip the $5 million in 2019, they are not worried about them. They're worried about who they think stole $2 million. So then, but my question, if I reply to them people today now, if you really care about looking at the Foreign Affairs Ministry and the theft of money under Ernest Koroma and under SAMURA KAMARA as minister, you cannot single the minister alone out. You got to talk about the minister, the deputy ministers. At the time, Ernest Koroma, I think, appointed 2 deputy ministers who served in the Foreign Affairs Ministry. Why the ACC not charge them? Why the APC people are not concerned about that? What role did they play? Them just did it as dummies? That's the dishonesty. And you check those individuals, they are key individuals in the APC. And then, not only that, the Director General of the Foreign Affairs Ministry at the time is the one of the witnesses against the minister who have been served under the time when they are accused. Don't you see the selective approach to justice in that case? When serious about corruption, on a serious for use, on a just serious about using corruption for witch hunt on your own opponents there. I don't care which political party you belong. Both the APC, SLPP, NGC, una all don't cost me. Una all don't gang up at one point or another, dance, because I think say the publications of my writings they help una. When una feel say me writing there against una begin organize course and parade. You cannot, that doesn't move me. What moves me is the evidence in front of me. And I'm saying when hypocrisy and when dishonesty, you can bring it my way. If una want fight on a flag bearer fight, or when I fight them, when I want use when I self, do it on your own. But you cannot bring it on my head. I speak about what is in front of me. What is in front of me is that there is concrete evidence published by the African Express, which shows money coming from China to Sierra Leone that the Chinese government gave between March to September 2018. That happened under Mother Building time. And between June 2019 to September 2019, they transferred money from Freetown to New York in the name of building an embassy. All the people who have been there, the Foreign Affairs Minister, the embassy in New York, we deal with that money. They've never been charged. They have made witnesses against the former foreign minister. Now, if we check under Ernest Koroma, at least there were 4 prominent people in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, 2 deputy ministers, 1 minister, and the Director General. Only the minister under Ernest Koroma in the Foreign Affairs Ministry was charged. When you come to Mother Building time in 2019, the $5 million, close to $5 million or even more that has been stolen. How many ministers? You get for Ali Kaba as minister, you get Nabila Tunis. Okay. Then at the embassy, you get, who do you get? You get later Ali Kaba as ambassador. You get deputy ambassador. Then 2 we've been there. 1 on legal affairs and the other one, I think, political or something. In the don't recall and go free to yourself. They're not charged. So you get 3, you get 1, 2, at least 3, 4 people then. When a major people then. Nabila Tunis, Imran, Kanu as one of the deputy ambassadors. You get Kai Kai as an ambassador. You get Ali Kaba as minister. 2 ministers, 1 ambassador, and 2 deputy ambassadors. They have never been charged. They are made witnesses against 1 politician who was former minister. Who now with your own party people who are the fed for a flag bearer. Then you want to blame me because I talk this true. If you say the truth, they help on your own crook Politics one at the pan. Crooked politics on a Jamfa for talk say na me una go blame. And you begin to accuse me and my views or my statements of fact, my statement of truth, looking at the whole thing. Then when they interpret and say it's a support for one politician, that is your own headache. It has nothing to do with me. You're not going to stop me for talking at the talk so. You know go whether you una scatter on a party or you not get nothing to do with me. What concerns me is if any politician as alone will come forward and tell me, say, what talk say, Mother Building transfer $5 million to New York in 2019, a lie. I challenge anyone, APC politicians, who beginning from Cherry Coco to NGC politicians, beginning with Kande Yom Kelai, when I supporters them. If anybody can able to tell me, say, when I talk, say, money came from China in 2018, evidence not even telling that evidence, that is where we have a conversation. Or when I talk, say, when I transfer money in New York in 2019, una the APC people know the vex why they talk this and say them money I not transfer when I get that evidence. When I come forward and tell me, say, indeed, I lie, then we'll talk about that. But if you feel, say, I for left the evidence and go bring for you evidence for you for justify your accusation, you must be damn crazy. You must be really something wrong with your head for things saying I mean for justify for you your own allegation. So if you cannot deny and challenge the evidence that we have published, then what do you want to talk about? You want me for support you and lie? For talk say because you don't talk say this corruption, indeed the building the Chancery building is not a new building. It is a government house owned by the Sierra Leonean government way back from Tijakabaden time. Predates. That's why we have a mission. Then the money, the lobbying effort, the commitment for China for contribute money to Sierra Leone for the construction of an embassy was something that was sealed during Ernest Koroma time. It's in the African Express. We've been on published way back in July 2021. When I go back on it. Now all be the share what would the right to. Would I be the share and share and dance around them? Would I be the maybe when I share and not be reader? Or when I feel say when I don't read them, I don't forget but no, we did not we don't forget what we write. We don't forget what we investigate, we don't forget the evidence. It's there. The permanent record isn't what we publish as we go do it forever. You know the loss. So we publish the history of the Chancery building funding and the project. But what we showed, again, that even if the Chancery building was a problem, was an embarrassment to Sierra Leone, the term we then take we go to court, we then take Sierra Leone go to court regarding the Chancery building and the damage we don't cause at that embassy area there. It not happen no other time. It happened under Mother Building time. And I also say the permits for the construction, for the renovation, what we get right now at the building there, na 2021. Now then take her. There is no other evidence where they other than not me fix and they now the New York, the contractor they hire. Nine. Last week or this week we passed, so I don't publish 2 statements of testimonies from an independent engineer hired by one of the neighbors for assess the damage that they owes and what did happen at our embassy building. I don't publish any statement today. None of una APCO, NGCO, SLPP, we want for cost me because of this true word they talk, able challenge saying a lie. Una not even get one word, one transaction when I don't produce for sure say what I am saying is not the truth. What do you want to talk about? You vex because you think say I have to talk what you like, or I have to write about what they please you a flag bearer. you must be very interested human being for things say that is the thing. So we are here because the Anti-Corruption Commission is a useless institution. It has no use. What I mean useless, now we don't get no use. Because so there is useful and useless. Useful now when something they serve in purpose. You get use. You use them for this, use them. But now the purpose of them is set up for control corruption, for address and hold people corrupt. But now, if we check under Ernest Koroma, if we check say this corruption from Ernest Koroma in terms start with SAMURA coming before the minister, you get 4 people there. 1 minister, 2 deputy minister, and director general. That's 4. If you then that are 4. You count under and Madabio, you get 2 minister, you get at least 3 ambassadors. That are 5 people there, 9 people there. All of them at the ministerial level. At the ministerial level, you get 9 prominent people, including Director General under SAMURA KAMARA. All the 9 people there, the only person with a and then big people there, the only with a minister, deputy ministers, with in charge of the ministries and the embassy, the ambassadors, deputy ambassadors. When you check there, all 9. Now one person only 9 days on trial for the chance rebuilding. Una Sierra Leoneans and I think say that a problem for the country. I know the things say that a problem for the justice system in our country. I know the things say that a problem for law in our country. Or we could forget about law, justice, or politics. Human beings, as human beings, when a mortal man, maybe when I get blood, flesh, heart, conscience. 9 people then. If I want to say crime we don't commit, when I want to begin from the origin, at least there are 9 people who worked in government, in the Foreign Affairs Ministry, to the embassy in New York. Minister and deputy ministers. Have you asked yourself why the deputy ministers and other officials under Ernest Koroma in the Foreign Affairs who works with SAMURA KAMARA have never been indicted? They're clean. They're genuine. Have you asked yourself why the ministers under the current government and ambassadors who work in New York and Freetown under Madabio, where this corruption happened, they've not been indicted? They're clean. They're free. And the opposition, where they can things say that me the stampede, for me cannot talk without the talk so. Me cannot contribute sanity into this conversation. When I feel say that una noise, una your own lack of conscience and lack of character and lack of human heart, you can hit somebody. But when it comes to justice, when it comes to the truth, when it comes to the dispensation of justice, fair trial, human beings should be capable of identifying fairness and truth, regardless of whether it affects you, your relative, or anyone you support. That is what I stand for. So you've singled out one of your kind only because we're all opposed to that. And when I want to bring me into the picture because I'm speaking what you people do not want to be told. And when I feel say you will associate me with SAMURA KAMARA or APC or I don't care about that. When I don't call me all kind of APC under Tijankaba, SLPP call me APC. APC come then call me SLPP. SLPP within SLPP then say me a Madabio supporter. When Madabio in a power, then say me a APC. Newspaper, the name of newspaper and don't write. Some of them say that $5,000 they pay me for make a write, but corruption under Madabio. The president, your wife, in like say, them want to make maybe want make this one job in their hand. I'm not unemployed. For be part of a system as corrupt as Sierra Leone are the most easy thing. So now, because I talk about this, the very APC people them and NGC people them, and now they say that SAMURA KAMARA support. But when I talk about the corruption and the sellout nature of parliament, the very APC and NGC people they defend the APC and the NGC in the parliament. What did I tell you? There's an alliance between the APC in parliament, the NGC, and the other opposition parties in parliament, together with Madabio. And this anti-corruption case and the singling out of only one individual as a target for the rest of all these politicians in these parties is part of the electoral process of 2023. Because in the APC, they've identified this particular character and politician as their target for the election. In the SLPP, they don't find out, say, this is a candidate that has a potential to beat Madabio in the next elections if he contests against him. That's fact. Because he's not been for beater in the past election. So those in the APC who remained dissatisfied with the appointment or selection of SAMURA KAMARA in 2018, they undermined his campaign, still believe they should undermine his campaign. One way they want to do it, now for wrap this case head with the publication that has nothing to do with Africa. And they want to say, some Africans spend a wigi, SAMURA KAMARA. No, not a wigi. Now, the APC politicians, who have friends in the opposition, we form alliance, we build COP as an opposition alliance. That's an opposition alliance for Wuna, the parliamentary leaders. Now, Wuna decide, say, you have to eliminate a potential contender to be you and a potential contender to you in your flag bearer competition. So that shows that your common opposition unity, a unit of opposites. The opposition has a unity in parliament, not because they are all united, because they all don't identify a common opponent for them. The SLPP has a benefit in that because NCC then prefer a candidate. If we say APC, SLPP get to be defeated, they want an opposition candidate that is their own choice, and they have found that alliance in parliament, whether they accept it or not. That's the fact. And why many of the parliamentary politicians in the APC have not been accused of corruption, not because they are not corrupt, because there is no corruption that happened under Ernest Kuruma in the 10 years of Ernest Kuruma in administration, where you could excuse the current parliamentary leader of the APC, CHERNOH Ramadan Majuba. No. All the agreement the way passed. Not only that he's a favorite of Ernest Kuruma, but he was a key leader, a key parliamentarian that superintended all of the mining agreements and other kinds of agreements where it cost the country loss. So if you get a commission of inquiry in Sierra Leone, you will have investigated parliament. Yes, I don't hear one of the opposition people that some of they talk say the opposition na parliament not to the parliament corrupt. Parliament don't corrupt way back, of course. But if we have to look at corruption in the past regime, why did you excuse parliament? What are the role of the current opposition leader in parliament, CHERNOH Ramadan Majuba, in the corruption of the APC under Ernest Kuruma? He was head of the parliamentary committees on mining, accountability committee. All of them participate in these mining committees, passing of these mining agreements, including even telephone companies, where he provided legal services for some of them. Celtel, Orange, all these companies, check. And you, when I want to talk about corruption, because of the highlighting, I want to cancel when they stampede me and accuse me of membership or support for so. No, you cannot get that passed through my head. The fact of the matter is that there is no corruption that happened under the APC. If we are going to do holistic corruption in Sierra Leone, all of these individuals should have no place in the politics of Sierra Leone because they are damn corrupt. They worked in a corrupt regime. If when I say there was corruption, indeed there was corruption, and all of those mining agreements did not pass through parliament like that. At some point, CHERNOH Ramadan Majuba was himself a deputy speaker of parliament. In the hierarchy of the administration, the organic administration of Sierra Leone, that was number 4th powerful person in the APC at the level of governance. The president, vice president, the speaker, and the deputy speaker are the 4, at least, in a hierarchical order, in a pyramid scheme. That is the 4th person. How did you excuse that individual from the corruption investigations want to do? The very individuals are now they wrap up the same corruption on their own colleagues, and you want to blame me because I'm highlighting the selective approach to fighting corruption. And you want to talk about corruption in the past? We can talk about corruption in the past, but I guarantee you, when we talk about corruption in the past, all of una, you should be chained, because if you then check how much you were worth in 2007 when the APC was coming to power and how much you are worth today, wallahi, even state has gone away from una, because you did not accumulate what you accumulated rightly. It's through the corrupt relationships, through political corruption and other kinds of financial corruption. But we'll get to that. And I'm ready to go into these conversations now, because we have an opportunity of looking at the whole picture in a cinematic way, which we will not be see between 2007 to 2018. We are able to see it now. That is what investigation do for you, struggling across time and across regimes. So that I want to say that the trial is now moving to New York from Freetown, not because there is evidence to be found in New York. No, because they just want to waste time and waste money. And they are not really fighting against corruption. They are using Anti-Corruption Commission as a tool. They are using the current anti-corruption the same way they used Anti-Corruption Commission in 2012. And if you come check now, when we come for discuss, you can find that these very characters there, that is how they've been able to propel themselves in the national stage. The question is, what's the relationship between Ade Macaulay and the current parliamentary leader of the opposition in parliament? How is their relationship tied to the current case against their own former flag bearer, their own party member, who they accuse me say media support Samura Kamara. Not only have been going to Cambia, go announce when I support Samura Kamara. What has that got to do with me? You can choose anybody you want. My work is going to continue because there is going to be corruption in Sierra Leone. Because the reason why you have all of these crooked ways and means to fight, using institutions to fight each other, because you don't want to run good governance. We don't want to build a governance arrangement that is decent, that is transparent, and that is accountable to the masses, that's accountable to the common good of the people. So you always desire for use institutions and laws for destroy each other in the process, for making able to put yourself in positions where you steal money, theft of public money. That's what politics is about in Sierra Leone. So, but I hold a commitment as a journalist in this case for lay out the facts as they are, whether you accept it or not. It's none of my business. My business is to show them, and also help to introduce sanity into a conversation. So I'm saying, before I take the break, may I just repeat what I say. If these people want to talk about corruption in the Foreign Affairs Ministry as it relates to the Chancery building, they have at least 9 former and current public officials at the level of minister and deputy minister, both in Ernest Kuruma's government and the current government. The question is, why did, out of all those 9 people, now only one person, the former foreign minister, Samura Kamara, put on trial and accused? How about his two deputy ministers? How about the Director General? In fact, Director General, now one of the witnesses against her. Then in the current government, all of the ministers and ambassadors and deputy ambassadors who received the money in 2019, we carry out and left the project the way it is, when they even interact with the neighbors in 2019. Then they all back now witnesses against one individual out of the 9 prominent people in the group. Not justice, Dandy, a fight against corruption, Dandy. When I know you see Dandy smell of injustice, it smells of hypocrisy, it smells of political repression, it smells of the use of the Anti-Corruption Commission for go after political opponents, the same way you did in 2012, the same way you did in 2018. Anyway, I'm taking a break and come back and continue this discussion. I never wanted to push this beyond 1 hour 30 minutes, but it looked like I would do another 15 minutes before we close. We'll still continue this conversation as we move along. But I hope that I've made my point here, that what we have right now is not a trial, is a collaborative effort of opposition politicians in parliament who have built an alliance with BO, alliance among themselves, who want to take over the APC. And not only that, they have also they are using the ACC the same way, and many of these people are lawyers. Then the same way they're saying are lawyers that head the Anti-Corruption Commission. So they found the process of making sure they are building a state in future, a draconian state that's going to be superintended by lawyers. And when you get crooked lawyers at the level of the state, it's a danger for the country. It's going to be worse than the army. Guerrilla army will make coup. It will be worse than that. And that now the danger of this is way beyond Madabio. It's way beyond Samura Kamara. It has to do with dangerous politicians who have built alliances across parties, many of them lawyers, also found in civil society, across parties from SLPPA, APC, this now the state capture. So it's not a case of where Madabio captured the institution, it's a case of where these independent, these opposition forces, from lawyers to found in institutions from parliament to the ACC to the judiciary, and even outside of parliament, the political parties don't come together and then capture the state. They are in the police department, and this makes you see all this drama they happen. This campaign of disinformation involving even state institutions. This is why it's happening, because the opposition are actually these opposition groups, interest groups who don't form this coalition. They are the de facto government. They are the perpetrators of violence across the country. The same way they use Ernest Kuruma to create the constitutional crisis under the APC and rob it off his head and participate in the corruption and thief and then hide and put the corruption ahead. The same way they use Madabe for commit these political and constitutional atrocities where they happen, including the mass killing of people. We have to look at this thing holistically. Otherwise, we deal with a danger whose cause and whose perpetrators we risk jumping over. So we have to look at the country now holistically, because if we not do that and see some of these hidden forces where we don't identify, it could be a problem. And that's the danger we have to really pay attention to. So I want to thank you for being here. Like I say, are they on the road? I mean, broadcasting from Kentucky, Louisville, at the University of Louisville this weekend. And I hope to continue this conversation in a much more coherent way. Well, after the break, I will read the small court papers about the SAMURA KAMARA presence here. Hopefully, we'll take this to 2 hours. I don't be one for do that but I think so we'll extend that. So let's take a break. And I invite more people then for the rest of the next 30 minutes we don't left. So we will anchor the conversation. It will go down in one day. We'll continue the other parts in future. I'll come back in a short while. Okay, so we don't do 1 hour 28 minutes in this conversation. I want to read a couple of the what do they call pre-conference approved pre-trial conference orders. Honorable Mr. Justice Fisher Jr. And this was from the Law Courts Building, Shekhar Stevens Street, Freetown, dated 17 October 2022. 17 today, I think. Okay. Justice Fisher signed and stamped this on the 20th of October, 9 days ago. So what happened now? The non-decide said in the Gona, this is the case between the state versus Saidunalo and the others. Of course, the most prominent here, you know, is SAMURA KAMARA, the 2018 flag bearer of the APC. So then say on the 3rd day of October, the court held a pre-trial conference with a view to putting modalities in place for the court to visit the site, the site of the Chancery Building in New York. So basically, then the site say, then they put modality for me and New York for come visit the building. And I remember that video, they were released, were going to the building. The courts, people and say in the New York for can't see the building, the judge. And all the people and the suspect that now, the accused persons and now the lawyer there. They don't get opportunity for New York. They want to take per diem for come. So as a result of orders I granted, the accused persons and their lawyers were given an opportunity to advise the court as to their intentions with regard to the visit. Consequently, the court received the following affidavit from all accused persons, save for the 6th accused person. So they received, the court say, Fisher say, then they can New York can't see the building. This building here where they don't eat money where they put SAMURA KAMARA. So they received a letter written by Mohammed Pamomo Fona on behalf of the 1st and 3rd accused persons. Then sworn affidavits sworn to by the 1st and 3rd accused persons. The other thing, a letter from the 2nd accused person's counsel, the lawyer will represent the 2nd accused person. I will read the name, but I already know. A letter and sworn affidavit from the 4th accused, a letter and sworn affidavit from the fifth accused. It is expedient to set out in some detail the contents of the affidavits and letter from the accused persons, the first accused person. So the first person, I think this is aside Unalo. Gonna put number 1. He said the first accused person submitted a sworn affidavit dated 11th October 2022. That we will be now release that video now, covering a letter in which he swore to the following. They say Saidunalo, I think that's the first accused person. In talk say, with a majority of the counts, I get the plenty charge then, and then charge pass all. Samura Kamara is not 2 charge you get. Anyway, in say it is imperative that he attends the visit with his consul, in one for with the lawyer. However, currently does not have the means to travel, and he barely has enough to sustain his family, including his wife and children. Sadunalo say, although they were in Goa for Canada, New York, but right now, because of the case when I put by all them Monday, it didn't court back and forth. The case now 1 year so now, almost. They're not over 50 adjournment. They say they're not able for sustaining himself, they're not able to pay for himself. He can, however, take care of himself in New York through friends. If you can't, we'll get side for day, you get party, we go make you get side for later, side transport for waka with them, and all that in the day. But you get money for take care of your family itself. So you don't go pay for a lawyer, you don't go pay for yourself for camp. But if you can, you must get 1 or 2 party. We go say, we're sorry for that. You can't sleep here inside me parlor. You go sleep at the couch. So that's all he say. That he's unable to fund the trip for his consul in lawyer to travel to New York, as he is rendering pro bono services to him during his trial. In fact, the lawyer will represent and the representative for free right now, able to pay himself. You see? That he's currently exploring ways through friends to fund the trip and accommodation for his consul to New York. So right now, what they look for? They can big party them back. Although you get party, they will go allow for me. If you can in New York, for make he catch to them. So the pilot said go sleep there during that 10 days. But it depends big party them back. We'll see if they will help her for get money, for me buy ticket for your own lawyer for Canada, New York. That it will be in the interest of justice and fairness if at least a return air ticket to New York is paid for him by the state. So it don't beg the court say, do ya for justice in sake, made a fair way for pay for a lawyer, do ya? So instead say, so you don't get money, made the government help her. The second accused submitted a covering letter dated in which he informed the court he does not intend to travel to New York and will nominate his solicitor, Brian Makoroma, to travel to New York. Further, he will fund the trip of this solicitor for trip inclusive of accommodation. So Brian Makoroma in your own possible representative say, you know, go Canada, New York, but you go pay for America. The third accused submitted a sworn affidavit dated 11th October 2022 with a covering letter in which he swore to the following facts: that he will have loved to travel to New York to attend the law course. However, he currently does not have the means to travel. So plenty of the people in Naya then talk say that it will be in the interest of justice and fairness of at least a return air ticket to New York is paid for him by the state. The fourth accused submitted a covering letter in which he affirmed that he will travel to New York and one consul and will bear the cost of traveling. SAMURA KAMARA, he say, he go to New York and he go pay for himself with his own lawyer for making them come, and he go pay for the accommodation. So you don't want the government for pay for them, big them made them pay for them. So since in the car, they say in the counter in New York, he go come for himself. He will pay for himself for making them come. So plenty of the people in Naya then go for now they say they pay for themselves. So that's all they don't agree, say that he has not been okay. I want to see what the judge say after all this now. So the judge, after hearing all these parties, it is hereby ordered Fisher, that illegal judge, we're not supposed to practice the way the lawyer then say you're not supposed to practice law in a salon. Now he say 1. The Anti-Corruption Commission shall source funding from the government of Sierra Leone to facilitate the movement of the court to New York to conduct, that site visit, and then called locus inco, I don't know how to pronounce it anyway, between the 30th day of October and the 6th day of November 2022 in the following manner. So the 30th of October, then tomorrow, self, and the 6th day of November, and 1 week in the following manner. 1, they need a return air ticket for the presiding judge and the court registrar from Freetown to New York and back to Freetown. Now, the money they arrange for it to money back up, and this one, they don't eat that $1 million in the New York building. Now, the way they do the trial, like trial, then they come back with money. 2, return air ticket for 2 prosecutors from the ACC from Freetown to New York and back to Freetown. 3, per diem for the presiding judge and the court registrar for the duration of the visit. 4, per diem for the prosecutor for the duration of the trip. 5, return air ticket for the first and third accused from Freetown to New York and back to Freetown. Number 6, return air ticket for consuls for the first, third, and the 5th accused from Freetown to New York and back to Freetown. The return air tickets should be routed via Dakar to New York and return, as it will represent a cheaper outlay on government resources. The above orders are in the interest of justice. So I don't see it. This is not Fisher. Adrian Fisher. The signer, Honorable Adrian Fisher, 20th October 2022, signed Justice of the Superior Courts of Judicature. The Honorable Justice Fisher, Jr. So I don't know now what will happen with the chance rebuilding case. I have laid out the parameters of the case, and I don't publish. Then there are 2 testimonies of the neighbor. One of the neighbors will sue the government of Sierra Leone through the embassy in a court in New York. Then we don't win first the first aspect of the case, which is an argument against the embassy. The embassy people, the way this thing they happen, then talk say, then not for be put on trial and get diplomatic immunity. The court in New York, the Southern District Court of New York, under the presiding judge, Edgardo Ramos, don't rule, say the Sierra Leonean government, then diplomats, them in New York, they're not able to claim immunity for the destruction of their neighbor's property to the abandoned building. And don't forget about even the destruction to the neighboring property, the fact that the building as it is so, they undervalue the property, they own that area there. All of the value of the property of that area, they go down, they depreciate because of that one building, the thing that the property valuation, that's what it does. They don't turn the place to a wreckage. So now that make 21 neighbors there already get complaints against the Sierra Leone mission in New York, diplomatic embarrassment, to the extent that the court in New York don't revoke the immunity of the embassy for say they get right for sue them a court for the damages that they've caused, not just to their immediate neighbors, but even to the neighborhood. So don't forget that we might be having more cases to the point that we're not going to repair the damage that sell go for end up for sell the building maybe. And not only that, before these people then fend way for old Ali Kabada and the people that will transfer this money in 2019, over 5 million way for them fix that building. They still live in politics 1 year now. Now we don't add on top of it. The judge don't say they're all for work in New York. They're not the only kind of New York, then they come with the lawyer there and the court registrar, anti-corruption prosecutors. But now New York and the government, we own money that they pay back, taxpayers' money on top of the back for can't see the building. In addition to that, then they pay per diem to themselves for that, for 1 week. The question is this in the interest of justice, in the interest of the image of Sierra Leone? And don't forget, Mada Bio say he has been traveling, looting billions of leones, millions of dollars out of the Central Bank of Sierra Leone. for travel around the world because they repair the image of Sierra Leone. Here we have the image of Sierra Leone in the United Nations in New York. And the only thing which make the Americans give Mada Bio visa for America now because of him meeting the way he can at the UN. He came to the UN in 2018. He came to the UN in 2019. If you don't see the image of the building, if the building be done there that state where SAMURA, KAMARA, and other people have don't eat this money, why did they not include it in they did not raise it in 2018, 2019? Only after the African Express published say Madabio and young people, they don't use the building in construction, they don't transfer 5 million, they don't chop it. They tend to say, more go Fenba, good than APC for whole. So the opposition in parliament, because of their leadership struggle, their effort for overthrow the party, this generation of people then, with their lawyers and their effort for getting rid of the party, then build this case together with Madabio and the alliance on their former flag bearer and their so-called party comrade. Because the evidence will be published is very clear. It has nothing to do with anything other than the receipt of money in 2018 by Madabio from China and the transfer of that money to New York in 2019 and the fact that the money was stolen by these officials from Freetown to New York. And we must emphasize all of the people that were involved in that transaction in 2018, 2019 under Madabio, they are all not on trial. The person on trial is one minister under Ernest Kuruma, and also the people with that minister, they work with that ministry, they are all not on trial. One of them is the Deputy Director General, the Director General of the Foreign Affairs Ministry, I think Khadija Bashir, when Adema Koli in Mama, one of the witnesses against her. Adema Koli was the Anti-Corruption Commission under Ernest Kuruma when supposedly this year happened. So he never investigated that at the time. And now, as a lawyer, he's supposedly representing SAMURA KAMARA in a matter that supposedly a corruption that happened under the time when they were in charge of the Anti-Corruption Commission. And his mom is one of the witnesses, listed witnesses against SAMURA KAMARA in the trial when Imama said, work at the Foreign Affairs Minister, Director General. Does that make sense? Or now I repeat it. If I'm not here, may I see the comment? But I repeat it, say so I can repeat it if I see the comments. But what am I saying? Both the APC and the SLPP found an interest and an opportunity for indict their own opponent, both within the party and outside of the party, with a case that and evidence will point to the SLPP. And now they can't say me for go look video where them produce say the own party person talk say the trial be happening under in your own time. Okay, Bobo Leon B don't post say repeat Mr. Bar. Zainab also Kamara say repeat. What are they saying that the corruption where they hold SAMURA KAMARA for at the time when I've been foreign minister, I've been get 2 deputy foreign minister there. He been get the Director General of the Foreign Affairs Ministry, Director General of Foreign Affairs Ministry, the permanent secretary. Now, in your case, the Director General of the Foreign Affairs Ministry, now one of the witnesses against her, that witness the now Adema Koli, the former Anti-Corruption Commissioner, now in Mama. And the corruption when they talk about, so if the corruption will be happy under Ernest Kuruma, it happened at the time where Adema Koli, they all that they been at the ACC. So they're not be investigated. But now when the corruption case in one of the lawyers, the way they say they represent SAMURA, in a case where Imama a witness against the clients who they represent. You don't get that? In the ministry of the past government, now that one person, the other 4 people, they're all one a witness, the other 2 non-mentioned deputy ministers. Under Madabio, they get about 5 top officials, 2 ministers, 1 ambassador, because Ali Kaba contacts minister ambassador, so I will call her minister of foreign affairs. Nabila Tun is minister of foreign affairs. Kai was ambassador, although a minister that was said ambassador. The 2 of the deputy ambassadors and 5, they were all, with the exception of Nabila, they all are witnesses against SAMURA in the case. So in 9 officials, if you want bundle, maybe for corruption, they were only for bundle together, put them on trial. Now 1 person only they put on trial. When I see the opposition and the ruling party, the effort. Why? Because both in the opposition party, a challenger to them. Both in the opposition, a challenger to them. And you know, go put this past. And these characters, they only fight not just for be at the helm of affairs of the party, flag bearer, competition. They fight also to control the executives of the party. Ade Macaulay is fighting to be Secretary General. And where you check him, he's connected to the parliamentary leader of the party. Now they don't camp that. Now they don't flank that. That is who they are, the parliamentary opposition. Now their own group. They don't want me to say this, but these are the facts. So if they really care about justice, they will be concerned about the $5 million that was lost between 2018 when Madabio came to power to 2019 when the money was transferred. But now the very people that now want me for go look video where they don't make say, we should say the construction we Madabio that start in 2021 when they get permit for, they not complete and they not able to account for the $5 million in question. We then transfer 2019. If the problem was there when before Madabio took power, they don't meet and why it not be address the problem, but then transfer money in the name of the building. Now, even if they don't take money 2018, I mean before 2018 and 2019, why now one person only under the past government and indict? The minister only. Really, in the ministry, in the sense, because the other one, these are just added names. But up and above that, we don't get to a situation where Madabio visited New York, visited America, not because of ordinary point, because they can't at the UN General Assembly. The Americans would deny a visa. He's coming to America both in 2018, 2019, up to now. You get to do with the UN General Assembly meeting. 2018, if I don't see the embassy na Iraq. 2019, if I don't say Iraq. If I don't say this wreck, na Iraq, we a building abandoned by the APC because they've stolen the money. And if I don't include them at the COI report, if I don't include them, the APC people, the way they fight their own flag bearer, they say that me put the case na SAMURA in here because African Space Public. No, we saw corruption under BO. We saw corruption under Madabio. Why? Because Madabio kind of power, it talks say, it organize COI, it do GTT report, they do forensic thing, they go after APC people, they go after members of the previous government, say corruption done under your own term. They fight corruption. What we set out for doing for showing a lie, Madabio the lie. From in the president, in WEF, all the government agencies, they all get corruption. Well, if that is the why would we show say David Francis, nearly $4 million, they don't misuse in procurement funds, they don't go hold the previous people away in the day. Why we will publish about all of these other ministries, including the fact say NASIT over $6 million neighbor account and 60.9 billion neighbor account for, and I'm not talk about that. Why would I not go hold other people again? So in this case, they will not say now a government for not see the case. No, the government inherited the chance rebuilding project and transfer $5 million. What happened to the $5 million? Now, let's say then take $5 million in 2019, then complete the building and say, but other money be done the way they not complete, and for be hold them people and they for be make sense. But your money, where you transfer $5 million, you not use that. And you're not going to talk about this issue until the public, they go find somebody, you go hold on. Then only then. So this is a clear example of how the state, the opposition, now they don't capture these state institutions in a way. Their friends and their colleagues, their alliances with the state, where they don't build, they have functioned not just as advisors, but as co-collaborators in the use of state institutions against their own opponents, because many of these people are friends, are colleagues. They went to school together. They took the bar exam together. They attended, they are collegial. They belong to the same clubs, school clubs and everything. So they have found a material interest in supporting each other, both in the past and in the present, in preparation for the future. Leading up to 2012, 2010, 2011, the whole country talk about constitutional review. You understand? 2013, leading up to 2018, we talk about constitutional review. For review the constitution, because the constitution of Sierra Leone get enormous powers we give to the presidency and all about in there. We don't redo this review under Justice Cowan. The review never became not seen final day. All of the people that way caused this, and then did the opposition at parliament now. There's no way we can blame that alone on an Eskroma without putting together the leaders we constitute the key people that win an Eskroma, your key adherents. You might call them the Kroma East in the APC. They have become the aberration. And they start with their parliamentary leader, you extend them right across, to party members. So I can say these things because I've seen them. I don't see them. So I can say them because I have many of the party people that know what I talk to say are true. They cannot say it because of political expediency. They want to get vote. They want to make sure they can contest. Then they don't want to annoy una. They don't want to make una party supporters. But I can say it, to APC member, I don't look to be your member. Now you trouble that. So, but Why I say this? In 2018, if we don't get a good new constitution, if we don't democratize power in a salon, restore more power to the people, and ensure more checks and balances and control and more democratization, we will get opportunity under the Nkrumah the same way they reform the ACC and give more power. But these same politicians, because they imagine themselves as inheritors of the state, that they program and Nkrumah and pump them up into what they call Supremo. After you, na you, the same people and I don't brand Madabi to this monster. I feel like say Madabi breathe no more, all man they die. So they make this fear, where in actual fact, the same way they hide behind the shadows of Nkrumah and propel them for create the atrocious constitutional violations and participate in the corruption where it takes place. Now the same way they are hiding behind this muppet as a president, and they cause all this thing. Now the constitutional review will then kill under Nkrumah. They don't move ahead now in parliament. They don't pass all dangerous laws. Then you begin for count now. Cyber Act, na parliament passer. This currency act, na parliament passer. The public elections law will give the president more power for, and the electoral commission more power for determining. I know that now. I don't need to explain. Public Elections Act of 2022, Parliament. The how you call it right now, Political Parties Act 2022 for make sure say smaller party they not going to survive. Nobody will form new party easily. Now they depend on for passer. The Central Intelligence, National Security Central Intelligence Act, way complementary to the Cyber Act. That the same thing. They will just arrest opposition based on the idea of central intelligence. You don't understand, eh? Say we suspect you, seize your computer and things like that, and they pass up. They don't even pass this for help Madabi. Then they imagine, say, at the level of parliament after Madabi, they go to take over government. And when they take over government, they are lawyers, many of them lawyers. Check them. From your parties to the opposition, when them party, to all them, and many of them are lawyers. Now imagine with this kind of dangerous laws, dangerous constitution, with dangerous secondary legislation we don't pass in these 4 to 5 years now. We check all the laws we don't pass. Now, anti-democratic law from cyber legislation to, so no matter if want to do this. So this is why parliament has to be held squarely responsible. When opposition of parliament, they are the real cancer to our democracy today. They are the cancer to the fight against corruption. They are poison to national development and national cohesion. Until we are able to single them out and put them in front of the people and address the issues that we're talking about, we'll be making a dangerous mistake. And me, I don't decide, say, for the opportunity that I have, and which is why I'm very grateful to then and now for giving me this opportunity. Nobody knows say I not say. I will continue to say it continuously. If you're not listening, tomorrow you will say I don't say. But what you have is a group of lawyers, members of parliament, in parliament and outside of parliament, who have schemed, at least from 2010 to now, using state institutions like the ACC for muzzle and propel themselves to where they are, muzzle their opponents and propel themselves. And they are imagining a draconian legal state under their control, corrupt state under their control. That is the danger that we have to be concerned about. And the nurses say, then find a moped and don't left Madabi and wife, made them will go and do all the thing there. And then they prepare the stage. That's what they're doing. We want change in a salon. Of course, we are all fed up with the dictatorship of the Bio regime. We have exposed it. We don't write about corruption of Madabi. Sure, every facet, there's no guess. Nobody in the opposition or the ruling party will able to challenge any of the evidence that we've published. And we're going to publish more. We are returning to our Sunday routine. That's one of the reasons why I come here right now, for mobilize my own team and develop a schedule leading up to the election. I'm more determined than ever for expose graft and corruption across institutions and across the political class. That I'm a determination. I'm ready for doing without hesitation. And I will do it ferociously. But I want to remind the people of Sierra Leone and those of you who are watching that what you have in front of you is beyond political parties. It's about the soul of the country, the life of the country, the future of the generations yet unborn. If we're not able to address this, it's going to be a very tedious situation. The discussion not long. We are now getting to 2 hours. In the next part 3 of this conversation, I will go back to 2018 and 2012 and show how the 2 incidents and they relate to the current case. But what I'm trying to say, if we are serious about accountability, we already have internal accountability systems that we need to develop at the level of Parliament, the Parliamentary Accountability Committee, to the Accountant General's Department, to the Audit Service, right up to the Central Bank. These should be able to control corruption and control graft and control waste. If anyone steals money, the laws we talk about theft and criminality and the theft of public funds should be able, law enforcement, to be able to deal with them. The CI, the Criminal Investigations Department, should be able to investigate them and charge them to court. The court should be able to find them guilty and sentence them without an anti-corruption commission. We will begin to make the case to international people for stop funding the anti-corruption commission. It is now a weapon in the hands of corrupt politicians where they use them for their own party fights in an election. It has become an anti-democratic institution. It is going to be used, it's used, it's no longer there. We had a good intention to bring this, but instead of serving its manifest function, it has become latent. It is a latent attribute that it has achieved thanks to the effort of these rogue politicians in Parliament, mostly APC politicians. And they found relevance in their alliance with Madabio because they see Madabio as a moped that they can use to consolidate and then subvert power. In the end, they will do to Madabio the same thing or worse than what they have done to Ernest Kuruma and the other gerontocrats in their party. I say that, but the consequence, not to down the suffer, now the country can suffer. Because when you have rogues behaving in this kind of way, they are worse than the cartels, than the drug cartels in Latin America. And now the problem that we will continue to appeal to international organizations, international friends of Sierra Leone, who are engaging in Sierra Leone to make it as a condition of their engagement, the scrutinization of all of these organizations and individuals who are putting themselves forward as credible representatives of the people. We have to be concerned about the environment, dictatorial environment that's been nurtured both at the level of Parliament and across other institutions through the development of legislations where that has the implication, they have the implication of nurturing a dangerous legal state. And that is what we have to be concerned about. And that now we worry. So I would say that and thank many of you for listening and for paying attention. I see we got an appreciable audience today. I'm still developing the process, the competence for Siago to read them here. So before I go, I know I don't already talk about the Anti-Corruption Commission, its weaponization. I don't address the role of the opposition in the current chance rebuilding case and how it has to be looked into. But up and above all, when I went in New York, the East Coast, when I go to the chance rebuilding around this dinner, if I want to also go there, I want to see the visitation of the judge. I want to ask her, we got to look how much they've spent. I want to make them finish and travel. Then we will publish the details of each and every person in Padiem, including Fisher. Among the people that wait, I don't really want to wait to say no one. Samura Kamara say no one, the money you go pay for himself. So you guys should follow up. That is coming up between the 30th of October to the 6th of November from what I read on the court papers. And I know some of them I know already say well, it was going to happen. We said I'll learn about that, so I brought it to your notice. I will take one small break. I want to talk about the Mamadi Doumbouya 10 minutes before I go. I think if necessary, we'll add one small comment on the Guinean military visit and why people think it's new. It's not new. Not the first time this whole guys Guinean military influence or demonstration as alone. But I want to take this break. We cannot make him. I know I may mix into the conversation on corruption. So thank you. I'll come back for just brief 10-minute comment before I go. Yeah. Okay, so I want to make this I want for make this comment briefly that so before I make a comment, I don't read to the court papers. According to the court papers, that this week where they come nine the visit for them happen. So you got for when I got for cross check that and see whether they are going to do that or not. But I basically read the paper. Whether they will change their mind or not, that's upon them. But we are watching and we will take the computers and aggregate the numbers and see how many people, how much money they are going to spend. We don't see the intention. They don't already give a legal basis for the Nkawan, why they want Canada, New York, and the money where they want to spend. So if they do that, we're going to publish the details. If they don't do that, it's upon the body already have papers and orders on that. So, and if they then decide to change the schedule, we will update you again on that. So that is what we have learned. But anyway, before I go, I saw, I think yesterday, we see these military troops of army officers coming into Sierra Leone. Was it yesterday? Well, these 2 days, I've seen the social media and much of the conversation online has been about the military visit of the junta leader in Guinea to Sierra Leone. I think it's one of his first international travels. He came with a convoy of military vehicles and soldiers, well-armed soldiers. And I don't see the conversation around Sierra Leoneans. We make them a topic, talk about demanding a show military might and all of that. That is not really something where unusual for military officers that travel across countries where bother each other. And I don't think it should be even an issue of serious conversation, because there are more serious issues on floor. The issue of the corruption at Parliament, the issue of the ECSL, the fact that they have not released the provisional voters register with the numbers up to now, and the idea that Parliament is still passing draconian legislation, the Political Parties Act and the National Security and Central Intelligence Act, the new agreements on revenue collections when they do, one and all know about, and all of these things that are happening in Parliament. Those should have been the actual issues. But I do understand why people concerned about army and the show of military might. But this is not the first time it happened at Saloon. The Guinean army has had significant influence on Sierra Leonean politics. Sheikh Stevens, for example, in the 70s, we got Guinean Sujaman and Gang at Saloon. And they were providing security for him. When Sheikh Stephen and other people were overthrown in 1967, he stayed in exile for the most part. John Bangura and other people, they organized in Guinea and trained people in Guinea to come invade and remove the military government when it became apparent that the National Reformation Council was not going to leave power, and they were overthrown by young army officers later on, and they brought Sheikh Stephen back from exile. Even when they come out from exile to take power in Guinea, was escorted by Guinean soldiers. So not only for Guinean soldiers with might, you see that Tijan Kaba as well. When Tijan Kaba was kicked out of power, who's been there? He didn't Guinea, stayed there for a long time. I didn't coordinate the military operation where returned Tijan Kaba power. Guinea's army played a significant role in that, in the restoration of the ousted government of Tijan Kaba after the AFRC coup. I know that. This is a recent history. So part of the reason, again, you cannot compare military might, Dwarf army. No, we know they compare the Sierra Leonean army and the Guinean army because they're two different ideological armies, two different, I don't call it, but two different orientational armies. One is of British orientation and the other is of French orientation. So the discipline in the army and then the approach to national security and national warfare are different. As a journalist, when I travel, while I travel across Africa, I find out, say, in English-speaking countries where if I introduce myself, I can't on any airport or any border point and introduce myself as a journalist, and they get easy passage, then they allow you pass. But when I say being a journalist, at the end of a French country, whether it's Guinea, Conakry, Abidjan, other places, I get more scrutinized. Then they check me more than in English-speaking countries. That tells you our approach to national security is different. The French, they pay more attention. French-speaking countries pay more attention to intelligence gathering, national security, more than most. They are more paranoid about that than English-speaking countries, from my own experience, from my own observation. So that can account for the show of might. And make we not forget, the Guinean army itself, for tell about how they're serious about national security and national defense. Now, one of the only armies in Africa that has repelled foreign military aggression, successfully repelled. In a way, I know they count Ethiopia. I'm talking about 1970, because we get this the Ethiopian army in those that I'm talking about. Maybe Marseille, West Africa, or one of the only. So meaning there's another. But in 1970, the Guinean Portuguese invasion of Guinea happened for overthrow the government of Sékou Touré. What happened? In 48 hours, the Guinean army and the Guinean politicians and everybody, national defense, everybody rose to the defense of the country and drove the foreign invaders. These were Western invasion of Guinea, the same way that happened in Libya. So when you check that, in fact, when you equate Guinea and maybe Guinea and Ethiopia with the war against Italy, the Italian invasion of Ethiopia, and then Cuba. Now, these are one of 3 countries we will check in history with that exceptional effort for repel foreign aggression within the shortest possible time. The Bay of Pigs in Cuba is still, in their national imagination. Guinea self, in 1970, Portuguese invasion of Guinea, backed by other Western countries, really, and the successful effort of the Guinean army and their defense apparatus at the time for repel. So subsequent to that, now ask yourself, which country today, including Libya, Muammar Gaddafi with all in might, was unable to defeat foreign invasion, NATO invasion of Libya? That's not to say, but I just tell you that the kind of military orientation that you're looking at, you should not be surprised with that kind of thing. And there's nothing wrong with a junta leader who is unwelcome the most part of the thing, and ECOWAS and other people don't reject him. So he has to think militarily, and he get that kind of escort. And that escort is not an invasion, it's not just invade Salon. May have been done with the understanding of a diplomatic visit, but sadly, is an army government coming to Sierra Leone to visit a civilian government. They have to behave that way. So let us understand things properly. The proper understanding of things is necessary for make we able to discuss both regional politics, international politics, as it relates to Sierra Leone and how we affect it. But remember again, Gaddafi visited Sierra Leone with the same kind of convoy. Remember the Mutkade and the soldier man and defense and delegation. So it is always it got to do with the understanding of the host country. If Salombe say no, they know they allow Mamadi Doumbouya for car, for car with one soldier man safe. But they came by road, so it's expected they will come with that kind of might. The question, though, what I would love to see on the part of the Sierra Leonean press and other people now for investigate whether the convoy that came and the ammunition we then carried and all that convoy all returned as they came. That for be with question: did they return all the soldier man them, all the gun them, everything we then come with? If you then go with them back. That is what you have to be concerned about, because if you don't go to them back, is it possible that they came with guns and ammunition where they don't left for Madabi and go back? Was the convoy a transportation of ammunition from Guinea into Sierra Leone? We have to find out that. So now that is the question. For journalists or people, that should be the question. If you then turn back with everything okay, both their personnel and their military hardware that they came with, if they return with everything, then the nine will be the point of conversation, the point of discussion, the point of interrogation. Because we got to find out if the government can buy and use Guinea as a shipment point for bring ammunition at the country, and a gun and they bring from other will get election or not. Because in 2000, leading up to 2012, we remember there was a discussion about the transportation of new arms and ammunition to the country, $5 million. I remember we all being whole. At the time, Musa Tarawali was, I think, Internal Affairs Minister, when that shipment of ammunition was about $5 million or so. It was a whole argument, a whole debate leading up to the election. We get a convoy of trucks there again, army trucks that would come up from Guinea Camp into Freetown at the time. This was towards 2011, 2012, leading up to that election. So I find out that people usually forget things. So I've been just decided to add this into the conversation as thinking points. But it's not an unusual thing. Forget this kind of thing. And we've had it before. The Guinean army don't intervene as alone. Before the war in the 1970s, there was even a parliamentary resolution passed in 1970, Sheikh Stephen in time when he was prime minister, we allow the Guinean army for intervening as alone in defense of the government in the case that the government of Sierra Leone feel they cannot be defended, or the defense system or the defense infrastructure that Sierra Leone will provide the required protection for the government and the territorial integrity of the country. So we had that in 1970. When I go look at YouTube, Sheikh Stephen was talking. You get those videos about the 70s and the so-called coups, 1971 and 72, and the Guinean army stepping in as a consequence of that parliamentary resolution between Guinea and